The climbing conditions weren't great in Seattle this weekend, a little hot and slimy, so I thought it was time for another endurance challenge. My original plan was to take my bike on the bus from Seattle to North Bend, bike to exit 38, and try to climb everything at the Deception Wall. So that's when I called in my friend Andy, who you might remember from Plastic L-Cap. Unfortunately, he injured his hip a couple months ago and had to take a break from climbing, but he's been biking like a fiend. He's back to climbing now. We thought that he could safely follow the routes that I led and probably do 511 and below. Now, the plan changed several times here. It turns out the Deception Wall is actually closed until July 15th due to falcon nesting. But perhaps more daunting, the 208 bus that goes from Issaquah to North Bend actually doesn't run on Sundays. That leaves just the 554, which is the bus that goes from downtown Seattle to the transit center in Issaquah. So the new plan, which bike fiend Andy was much more excited about, was to take our bikes on the bus to Issaquah, bike 23 miles with 1,500 feet of elevation gain to North Bend. There, we would try to climb a bunch of routes at the Woods, which is an area off the Little Side trailhead, reward ourselves with milkshakes from Scott's Dairy Freeze, and then reverse our journey back home. Well, the first thing was that I got to Andy's pretty tight on time. We did this challenge on Mother's Day, and I called my mom in the morning, and I was not late. I was perfectly on time to add drama. Andy is the one who actually has bike touring gear. Nice rig.
Yep.
So in record time, we put a rack on my bike, which wasn't the right size, so we ski strapped it to the seat post and called that good. We also ski strapped my stick clip to the frame like a really confusing spear or something. Andy rejected a number of my items so that our stuff would fit on the bikes, so I'm sorry, Mom, on this Mother's Day, we climbed without helmets. The bus stop downtown was about 15 minutes away from Andy's by bike, and we're watching the clock tick by very quickly as we try to shove everything in the panniers. Basically, Andy carried all the heavy stuff like the rope and the draws.
Yeah, so Andy's our camel today.
Also last minute, we discovered that Andy didn't have any cash to pay the bus fare. So as we're sprinting downtown, Andy makes the fastest ATM stop I've ever seen, and we punch it downtown to 4th and Lenora. Whew, we made it. The next bus would have been an hour later.
With 2 minutes to spare?
Yeah, really tight on time. That was my optimism. I had to wear these so that I could be as fast as Andy.
Oh yeah. Made it on the bus.
Now we're here at the Issaquah transit station.
The first half of our bike journey was mostly along the Issaquah-Preston Trail.
Look at how beautiful this route is. It's amazing!
Gravel!
When we left the path of I-90, the trail became the Preston Snoqualmie Trail. Breaking off that trail onto the Deep Creek Trail was probably the most exciting part of the journey. That trail to me seemed like a mountain biking trail. We would have been surprised on road bikes. Really, it was hilarious, and it led us to a nice break in Azalea Park.
We just climbed 500 feet in like maybe a half mile.
It was steep.
That was hard.
I only fell over once.
Then we wove down some side streets in the town of Snoqualmie Ridge, flew down the Snoqualmie Ridge Trail until we got to downtown Snoqualmie.
A steam locomotive.
Then the Snoqualmie Valley Trail took us into North Bend, and then the Little Side Trailhead. It was a really good day to not have to park a car, so we locked up the bikes and then headed up the trail to the Woods Group. There are 3 sub-areas in the Woods Group. There's the Midland, the Woods proper, and the Woods Alcove. I started out with this list of climbs, which I vaguely got by saying, what are the routes we can do that are 2 stars and above, and 512A and below. We started out on Sweet and Sticky, a 5.9, to test out Andy's hip, and so far, so good. We scooted over to the Nameless Tower, 510D, and did that one pretty easily. By then, a family had come in to climb the 5.9, which actually shares the anchor with the next route on my list, which was Violent Phlegms, 511B. So we avoided that one, and I set my sights on Lay of the Land, a classic 512A. This route is mostly pretty chill with the crux at the end, but in this case, that crux was also in the sun on a hot day, so it was quite a challenge. There was one point in time where my hand slipped off a hold, and then I smashed my face into the arete. So I got this nice little bruise. But the important part is that I stayed on, when it's maybe I did like a chin grab. And so with that, I onsighted the first 12A of the day. So far, so good. By the time we were done there was still the family that was sort of blocking violent phlegms, so that's okay. We moved on to the woods area proper. There, the first climb on our list was Resume to Entomb, a 511C, but someone at the crag recommended that I sub that route for Digitalis, a 512A/B, the direct start that finishes at the same anchor. Digitalis turned out to be quite hard and a bit spooky, so I did not send that one, but I at least got to the top. So that Andy could have a turn again, the next route I picked was Gold Rush. That one's a 511B. There were a bunch of spiders on the hold, so maybe it's not that popular, but I tried to avoid a spider hold and then almost slipped off that one, and so I did have to put my hands directly into the spiders, but my reward was a bail beaner on that one. Booty. After I onsighted Golden Toddler Circumnavigation, a 512A, we decided that I had time for one more route if we wanted to make the 724 bus in Issaquah, which was, of course, a long way away. That last route was Godflesh, a 511-, and it's actually the extension to Street Cleaner, a 510A, that was also on our list, so I guess we got both ticks. So out of the 13 route goal, there were 7 that I sent, 1 left undone, and 5 that we never got to try, so we did not get that close to the climbing goal of this trip.
Let me know.
Yeah.
And I climbed 511, and my hip is not as busted.
We're running out of time, and at this point, Andy really wants to get back on that bike.
We got back to the bikes around 5, and now we're going for milkshakes.
Just kidding.
Biggest disappointment of the day. Scott's Dairy Freeze is closed.
Because of Mother's Day. Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. You're not even here. You didn't even want to come with us.
The fallback plan was gas station ice cream, which still hit the spot, I guess.
One Pepsi!
Andy also wanted to go on the record and say that he does love his mom this
Love you,
Mother's Day.
Mom. Thank you very much.
Right.
Got the Pepsi. All I
Andy
wanted was
has
just one Pepsi.
filled all of his bottles with Pepsi.
Oh, one's Gatorade, one's water. One's
Okay,
Pepsi.
okay, fine.
It's gonna be fun.
We just went up a very big hill, but that's our high point, so downhill from here. So, we appeared to be at a cliff. It's definitely not the way we came. We could walk it.
Pretty rad, huh?
Moss hanging off trees. Splitter trail conditions.
Sweet. Sick.
It's constant optimism that leads to being late sometimes. And so we missed the first bus, which I was originally aiming for, the 7:24 p.m. bus in Issaquah. And instead, after waiting quite some time, we caught the 8:15 home. Back at the Issaquah Transit Center, Andy finally got to call his mom for Mother's Day.